Hey there, it's Aubrey Co from Survivor Co Raw. Grab some giant clams, pick some mangoes, sit back and relax with Dwaine and Dave on Survivor Talk with D&D. With Survivor knowledge this tasty, we're sure you'll make it through the whole show, just as long as Mark the Chicken.
Welcome to Survivor Talk with D&D. I'm Dwaine.
And I'm David.
And we're just two best friends talking about the show we love, Survivor. So we want to thank you for listening and or watching. We're a family-friendly podcast, and we love you, our D&D community. You make the show great, so thanks for sticking with us. We wouldn't still be here if y'all weren't sticking with us. So,
nope.
Because we would just record it and no one would listen to it. That would be a waste of time.
I think Gracie would still listen because she goes, "You got Aubrey?" I said, "Yeah, Dwaine." Talked to Aubrey and talked her into doing it. She goes, "Wow,
I love our intro." Yeah. I asked her if she wanted to do a show with us preseason. She's like, "I'm a little Survivored out right now."
Really?
Yeah, we're not going to go into yeah, we're not going to talk about that. We might at the end do a little spoiler talk for some upcoming
spoiler
season.
talk with D&D. See, the initials are perfect. They fit everything.
I know. Every show that we start needs to be something with an S.
Or Star Trek with D&D.
Yeah, Star Trek. Speaking of that, we also have two other podcasts, Movie Talk with D&D and Stranger Things with D&D. So we have a lot of new movies on Movie Talk with D&D. And, of course, Stranger Things has 2 shows on it. Mm-hmm. So tonight we are listening to, reading, and responding to the thousands of emails we got about season 33.
They are so excited.
Your thoughts on the season. Either y'all are just totally not excited for this season, or you totally forgot to send your feedback in, or y'all just don't like us anymore, and why are we doing this?
Or there's a fourth. Everybody's too busy. Everybody's too busy, and they're just waiting for our podcast to get their fill of who these people are.
We already did those. I think
they're
it's because
still too busy.
I think it's because I upset everybody last week.
How'd you do that?
My stupid, horrible remark. I'm not even going to say it again because it was horrible, and I realized after I said it, I shouldn't have said it.
Oh, you're just sneaky. Now you got people going back to listen to the last podcast in case they didn't, because they want to go find your sneaky remark.
I don't know about that.
You're getting slick.
Anyway, we're going to talk about the cast of Survivor Millennials versus Gen X. And to help us do that will be Andy Baker later. And when he gets here, I'm going to play a special introduction that I made for him that is going to make Steve Helling jealous. Steve Helling will listen to our show. Steve Helling doesn't listen to our show. He just is on it every once in a while.
He'll probably listen to this one because Andy's on it.
No, I don't know if he will or not. I really don't think Steve listens to our show. And we're not going to say anything to him and see if he says anything about it. And he won't. He won't, man. Steve is great, and we love Steve. And I don't even know. No, Andy does listen to our show. Yeah, Andy does.
Yeah.
So, anyway, right here in our show notes, it says banter with Andy. But Andy's not here, so bantering.
We're bantering about Andy and Steve.
Yeah, we're bantering about Andy. Andy is very deeply involved in the Durham Warriors survival challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And man, I hope I get to go to that next year. I might even apply.
He's one of the architects, designers, evil geniuses, and he's got his own special tasks that only he does. And I'm not going to say what they are, but I can't tell you what they are. But
why would you do that to us?
Just to make you either apply or show up. No, it's neat. Working behind the scenes this season, I get to see what everybody does. Big Mike's got his special things, and John's got his things, and Andy's got his things. And so
but why aren't you allowed to talk about them? I mean, it's not like it's top secret or something.
Because if you knew what Andy's special things were, you might pay more attention to Andy. You never know. So I go, David, what is Andy's special things? And that's what I get. It's surely not finishing confessionals before 2 a.m. That's not one of his special things.
Gosh. Oh, man.
Let's talk about that.
If you're watching live, which some of you already are. Welcome. Join the chat room. There's 3 of us in there right now. Join the chat room and join the conversation. It's funny. I was following, on Twitter, I follow some people. Back whenever I used to, obviously I follow some people. But back whenever I was watching Big Brother, I was a fan of one of the Big Brother podcasts. And one of the ladies on there is Coletta. And she's like, we have 400 people in the chat room. And I was like, wow, we have 3.
Yeah, but sometimes our chat room conversations are better than our podcast too.
So join the chat room, stwdd.com/live. If you're listening to us later or watching us later, catch us on one of our live shows Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. I realize it's right in the middle of Thursday Night Football, which I think is absolutely stupid of us to do our show on Thursday night. But
is that going to be every week? I didn't think they did it like every week. I thought it was only
Thursday Night Football is a every week thing.
It used to be like the end of the season or the beginning of the season. I thought now it's all every week.
Monday Night Football, and Thursday Night Football. And we miss every single week because we're doing this.
Yeah, but it's the Jets and the Bills. So I mean, other than the Jets defense on my fantasy team.
It's still, by the way, Dallas is going to kick your ever-loving butt this week.
You think so?
Yeah, Dallas and Washington. We're going to beat you so bad. You're going to go crawling to your friends and begging for something.
Oh, this soundbite's going to come back so bad on you.
Do you really think Washington will beat Dallas?
Why not? Has Dallas won?
Not.
No, they got a backup quarterback who hadn't hardly played at all.
Washington. Their backup quarterback is kicking butt. He's really good. All right. Anyway,
keep talking.
We're stalling for Andy. If you like the show, click the thumbs up right there. Go ahead. Do it now. Go ahead. Awesome. Thank you. All right, let's do some Survivor. Oh my goodness, David, we are only a few days away from the premiere.
Oh yeah. 6 days.
Well, 6 days as of right now.
Mm-hmm.
But imagine if you're listening to this show on like Tuesday, it's tomorrow. Or if you're listening to it on Wednesday, it's tonight. Whoa.
And they're thinking right now, man, I hope Andy Baker comes on before the show comes on tonight. So
he will. He's putting the kid to bed and the kid's being difficult.
Yes.
Kids always get in the way. Always.
That's right.
Anyway,
we're going to young people with their kids.
Do what?
These young people with their kids. I mean,
I know. What's up with that? Anyway, so we have a couple of listener feedback tonight. I cannot wait for the season, though, David. I really am looking forward to it. I like the fact that I don't know a lot of like twists and turns, and I haven't heard anything. CBS hasn't really come out and go, we're gonna hide idols in people's clothes or anything like they did last season. So it'll be kind of fresh. Although the preview that I posted that Jeff Pittman ripped off of TV and told me I could post to our YouTube page, on our YouTube channel, showed some of the typhoon.
I haven't seen it yet. No, I saw your post, but I haven't watched the clip yet.
Really? You didn't watch it?
No, I usually don't check out half the stuff you post. So I just.
Well, what do you do? Work?
Yeah. In fact, this month is my month to travel to all the clinics. So yeah, I don't get to sit at my desk and just watch videos all day and post things from our friends.
Well, I don't get to either, but I did have time to do that one. All right. Our first feedback is from Faith. Gotta have faith, faith, faith. You gotta have faith, faith, faith. Baby! Faith turned a feedback in today. We're gonna read it now today. All right. Here we go. Hey, guys. I missed D&D this summer until she heard me sing, and then she doesn't.
This is how we are at 2 a.m. when we're trying to play cards, and Dwaine starts singing.
Oh, Oh man. Oh, I found some old video. Remember whenever we were playing cards and you laughed so hard you started bleeding out of your nose?
Oh, yes.
And you were like going over the sink and we were still laughing at you. It was great. It was awesome.
Oh, you were laughing and filming.
Oh yeah, it was.
Yeah,
I've missed D&D this summer. I don't know if I should read this next line. I did listen to a few of your other podcasts, but it's not the same.
Yeah, it's different guys.
Thank you for recommending our other ones. Anyway, on to my feedback, she says.
Yeah, don't put that in the iTunes review.
Yeah,
I listen to the movie podcast, but they're not like the Survivor podcast, so don't listen to any more of these.
Yeah, they're not as good. That's like, I dated your sister, but you know, she wasn't as good as you. Or something. I don't know.
Thank you, Faith. For good feedback.
Oh my gosh. You ready?
I wasn't until you said that.
I'm super excited. Hurry up, Andy. Gosh. I'm super excited for this cast. There's a lot of great players, and I'm excited to see how it all goes. I've listened to both of your shows for season 33. I still have a list of 13 people that I need to reduce to 10 for the D&D Survivor Challenge. Yeah, it was tough for me to get mine down to 10. And we're going to talk about the D&D Survivor Challenge later on in the show again. But I have my 10, and you got to get yours turned in. Mm-hmm. So I know your first podcast was a cold read of cast and bios. So I shouldn't expect you to be able to pronounce towns in Washington. But man, did Dwaine give me a good laugh when he said Yakima, Washington. What's wrong with that? What'd I say wrong? What I do wrong?
I don't know. Apparently you didn't say it the way Michelle did.
All right. Well, so Yakima, Washington. I think the best part is Michelle said Yakima in the audio clip, and Dwaine still butchered it. Not as bad as he did with Ephrata when Kelly was on, but close. I thought it was you that did that. Why am I getting blamed for this?
I think you butchered Ephrata first. I totally destroyed it later on to the point where Kelly couldn't stay on the podcast. She was laughing so hard.
You're the one that always mispronounces things, not me.
Yeah, but I usually try to arrange the feedback that you get those and I get the other ones.
By the way, did you some people like this about our podcast. We sometimes chase little rabbits. Did you see what I posted on Facebook today?
Sometimes they're big rabbits.
Yeah. Did you see what I posted on Facebook today that I heard a conversation that I overheard?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I did see that.
The man says, "I'm not that overweight." And the woman says, "What the heck? You don't even have a neck." I would just like to come out. I was the guy.
I figured that.
I was the guy. I said, "I'm not that overweight." And this person who shall not be named said, "What? You don't even have a neck." In other words, lose some weight, fatty.
Was it your trainer, was it?
No, I'm not telling you who it was. But she's cut off for a week. All right.
That's a short list. That's a very short list. So yes.
I told her she was cut off for a week and she went and had a party. Yes.
That's wrong.
All right. Dwaine still butchered it. Not as bad as he did Ephrata when Kelly was on, but close. I debated doing a list of Washington towns to get a few laughs, but I'm guessing most people wouldn't find it funny. So here's just two. Oh, great.
Actually,
really?
there are some videos on YouTube of people pronouncing town names, trying to guess if they're real names or not. So they are pretty funny. So this should be pretty funny. All
right. Well, Faith needs to learn to add space in her emails, or you need to learn to add space whenever you make the document, because the answers are right down there if I wanted to look at them.
Yeah.
but I'm not going to look at them. So she wants me to pronounce this town Sequim, which is obviously Sequim.
And for anyone else that has a neat town name,
Sequim.
please send it in with your feedback this season after every episode.
Sequim.
I would think Sequium.
Sequium?
Like Requiem?
Yeah, like Requiem. Yeah. Sequium or Requiem? The answer is Squim. Apparently, people in Washington do not abide by phonetics.
They don't care about vowels.
Yeah. Who needs a vowel? Who needs a silent E at the beginning of a word? Tell me what rule that goes with.
Living in the Northwest.
Yeah. Not a lot of Survivor content so far in this episode.
No. That's faith. Gotta have faith.
Yeah. All right. So apparently I got Squim wrong. All right. Here's the next one. Puyallup. Okay. Based on the fact that they don't pronounce all their vowels, I'm going to say Pileup. Pileup.
I was thinking Puyallup.
No,
Because like you said, I was thinking that actually sounds like a Pokemon name. But a Puyallup. You think it's Pileup? No. Like car pileup?
Yeah, like a pileup.
Okay.
Yeah, but I live over there in Pileup, Washington State. Pileup. And it's named that because back in 1964 we had a huge pileup.
It sounds like Foxworth's these redneck dictionaries with this.
Yeah, they're all rednecks up in Washington.
Well, I hate to correct you, but they're not.
David, their town's weird. That's why they can't pronounce their town names, because they're all high.
Wait a minute, what? What'd you say?
I said that's why they can't pronounce their town names, because they're all high. Marijuana's legal in Washington.
Okay.
I was what?
You just said a whole northwestern state in the United States is high.
So Puyallup. Oh, she even put an upside down E to make sure that we pronounced it correctly.
What's an upside down E sound like?
Go ahead, David.
No, what does it sound like?
I don't know, but PEW is pew.
Right.
Puyallup. An upside down E is kind of a sound. Puyallup. Where do you live? Puyallup. It sounds like something I need to pop on my back.
It sounds like Southern Pew Island or something.
What are you watching on YouTube? People popping Puyallups? Up in Washington smoking weed?
No.
All right, maybe a third. This is still someone's feedback. This is not our fault. This is a feedback. So don't write a dirty iTunes review over one episode.
That's right. This is called Baker Time. We're filling for Baker Time.
That's right. Oh, maybe a third. PENDOREILLE county.
And there's a space between PEND and O.
Right. So PENDOR. I mean, that's obviously penned. That's how it would sound if it was pronounced correctly.
If it was pronounced outside of Washington.
Apparently. What is Washington, its own country or something? Everything has to be named something weird? I don't understand this.
They didn't write the book. They wrote their own book. That's what it is.
I'm surprised Seattle isn't Sawtell.
It probably is. Sawtell Sawhawks.
Yeah. Sawtell Sawhawks. All right. So Pend Oriole. That's obvious. Pend Oriole County. Pend Oriole County. Right now, Faith has had a wreck. She's laughing so hard she had to pull off the road. So apparently it's Pond Array. What? How in the world is OREILLE array?
Wow. Maybe there's some Canadian influence in there somewhere.
Pond Array. Pond Array. Where do you live? Pond Array. I live in Pond Array.
Pond Array County.
No, it's I live in Pond Array, man. Yeah. That's where I live.
You're gonna get in so much trouble. Now you're really gonna get in trouble.
This used to be a federal offense, and now the police come out and give me protection. I was actually watching a police show about guys up in the mountains, and the police guy was like, you know, it used to be I would go bust this guy, and now it's legal, so I have to go figure out how to help protect him, which is fine. I mean, he's not upset about it. He's just like, so now I'm like making sure all of his, he's got like $1 million worth of pot up there. He's like, and like, I got to protect him because people are going to come up here and steal his pot.
Yeah.
And sell it in Alabama and Virginia.
And then we'll start.
We
omitting towels.
Yeah. By the way, your feedback is allowed to be over 6 minutes if we make it over 6 minutes.
I was going to say, where are we with this? Are we at the 8-minute mark right now?
We're like 20, I think. All right. It's all in jest, Dwaine. I'm glad, you know, at least she spells my name correctly. I'm surprised she doesn't spell it some weird Washington way. I mean, look, if she can mess with me, I can mess with her state.
There you go.
Right?
Right. And as a feedback, I hate this new Google Hangout form because it cuts off the end of our words to each other when we're trying to speak to each other. I don't remember doing that before.
I know.
Ugh.
So you don't hear everything.
Not.
All right. It's all in jest, Dwaine. I'm glad you can take some teasing. Oh, I can take a lot of teasing. I think next time you should hit pause and call Kelly to get it right. No, I'm not going to call Kelly to get it right. Although it's pretty cool that I could. It's pretty cool. I'm sure she laughed like I did. Anyway, Michelle is on my list for sure. Oh, some Survivor analysis. Let's look.
I was going to say, who's Michelle? She's from
Michelle.
Yakima.
What are you talking about? All right. Michelle is on her list. Ooh, Michelle is on my team and Steve's team, not on David's team. Michelle's on our list for sure. I like Brett a lot. Brett is also on my team. You are a very smart woman, Faith. And after that, I'm not sure. Wow. Up above, she said she had a list of 13.
Yeah, where's the 13?
Now she says, oh, well, I guess I'll just pick and hope I do well. Love the show, Faith. P.S. Go Hawks. That's right. Go Chicago Blackhawks. Way to go.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure that's what she meant.
Yeah. I'm sure the next one will be an audio feedback from Faith, and she will set the record straight.
I'm sure she will. By the way, you need to text Andy and tell him we have one more feedback, and he needs to get on the air because we're going to run out of things to talk about. All right. Thank you. All right. Next, we have Bart. Hey, Bart. Oh, no, it's Bart. Hey, Bart. Labor. Bart. Labor. Oh, I'm on a roll tonight. Wow. Here we go.
I, the non-prostigator of non-prostigators, incorrect predictor of 30 of the last 32 survivors, Bart of Lexington, South Carolina, am now ready to make my prediction for this upcoming season of Survivor. I humbly submit my incorrect record as proof of my inability to correctly predict the winner of any Survivor season. This season, I incorrectly predict that Figgy will win Survivor. I won't bore you with my reasons. Actually, I just drew that name out of a hat. You'll just have to trust that my imperfect instincts are once again dead wrong.
That was short. Are you there, David?
Yeah, I was going to say, I was waiting for you to pop back on the screen.
Hold on. Okay, here we are. David's running back from the bathroom. All right.
Actually, I don't think his pick is all that bad. I mean,
I don't either. I think Figgy has a chance.
She's on my team.
Yeah. Figgy followed us on Twitter. So we like Figgy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. If you are a current survivor, follow us at survivor_. Who knows? About you.
She could certainly pull off another Michelle season. You never know.
Yeah. So, Bart, you got a good voice there, buddy. You ought to pursue some voiceover work. I think he actually is. So Tina in our chat room says Dwaine and David are looking good this year. Tina is such a flirt.
Tina, watch the video. Don't just listen to the audio. Watch the video.
Tina is such a flirt. Let's see. Kirk says, hey, you ask Kelly how to say these names. I'm not going to do that right now. Dwaine, I heard that the season premiere of Survivor has something it has never happened before. Well, yeah, it has the cyclone.
Right. Is it in the first episode or in the second?
Whoa, Tina. Woo. You ought to join the chat room. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. And this isn't a spoiler because this is all over CBS. She's going to make me blush. I'm going to blush.
Yes. At the finale last year, he said it's something that's never happened this season.
Yeah,
and I think this is pretty much this is it. Yeah.
Yeah, they have to evacuate everybody. And no, it's not a spoiler because CBS has already said it. It's only a spoiler. CBS didn't say it, and then I wouldn't have known about it. So because I didn't know about it before CBS said it.
And if Probst says it on EW, then CBS has said it.
Well, yeah.
Well, I mean, we talk about CBS.com and CBS, all the TV show commercials.
If Probst is quoted as saying it on a reputable place like EW, or if Steve Helling would ever write anything anymore, Steve Helling.
I heard he did, but I've seen no proof.
Gordon Holmes.
Yeah.
Or anybody like that. Yeah. Tina says in our Facebook, on our chat, love your faces.
She's talking about the Funkos back here. She likes those.
Yeah, she's talking about the Funkos and our little caricatures.
What happened to your Batman?
Well, I took it down. I put up the Minions again.
Okay. Actually,
it all fell down. So, all right, where is Andy?
Did it really?
Yeah, it all fell. I walked in here at like 7:30 because I'm only in here if I'm doing voiceover work, which I haven't gotten any jobs lately. Feel free to hire me. I would love to do some voiceover work. And it was all on the ground. So I had to hang up a different poster. I was going to do the Star Wars one, but really, like, see the tall, thin one? That's me. And the short one over.
No, I'm not in that one.
That one.
No, I'm not. Well, that's the little kid. There's one a little bit taller, but actually a bit wider, and that's me.
Okay. Well, we need to get a poster with those two on it that says D&D on it or something.
There you go. Yeah. Now, since we're waiting for Andy a few minutes, it's gone to his phone. I can tell you about this Sunday night is our big kickoff for the new school year at church for the youth, and we're doing a Survivor night. I got to pick out. I threw about 8 challenges out to our 2 youth pastors, and we narrowed it down to 5.
You have 2 youth pastors?
Yeah, high school, middle school. And in fact, one of them's getting ready to go to our new campus. We just acquired a new campus over in Churchland, and but anyway, we narrowed it down to 5. And since I know none of those youth listen to this, I can tell you and the listeners that what we're doing is it's going to be cool since we're waiting for Andy. We're going to do the first one. We're going to do is the match game, where we're going to put 50 things out on the floor in the gym and cover them with boxes, and one at a time from each team. They go out and lift a box, lift the second box, and they can either keep it like an iTunes gift card, a bag of Reese cups, or
don't. You did not say Reese cup.
As soon as I got to the items, I thought, let me just throw it out there.
Reese cup.
No, I did not. I said Reese's cups. So,
thank you.
Yeah, but I know where that screw is, and I can turn it so easily. But anyway, so that's the first game. That's really cool.
By the way, feel free to fast forward if you want to get to the Andy part. We understand. Yes. Go ahead.
So that's the first challenge. We're going to have 4 different tribes. All the adults will be wearing buffs. We don't have enough buffs for the kids, but I'm going to bring my buffs for the adult store. So
Excuse me, if you see behind you, you have like 1,000 buffs.
I know, but we have
USA Inc. By the way, Buff USA.
I don't have 60 though. We're expecting at least 60. Let's see. The second challenge is going to be a Bible trivia. It's going to be Bible trivia and life trivia. So, and then it'll be the same thing
on Survivor. I don't think so.
Exactly. So this is church Survivor. The third challenge is the gross food eating challenge.
Ooh.
We've already got some Vienna sausages that we're going to dip in chocolate. You know, something like
just
that. We've got some
chocolate covered mini Wheaties. Yuck.
We've got some Spam. We got those little zebra cakes that we're going to cover in a little bit of mustard. You know, we've got caviar. We've got escargot. We got a couple different things. But I told them today, me and the pastors met today to talk about this. I said, look, the very last thing in the Gross Food Challenge is going to be a smoothie, a Survivor smoothie. And I'm going to bring my blender, and one item at a time, we're going to show the kids what we're putting in the smoothie.
That's horrible.
And each tribe is going to get to be able to pick their one youth that they want to come do it. But they're just, it's just going to be about so tall. So that'll be fun.
Yeah.
I can't wait for that. I'm telling Terry this, and she's laughing her head off seeing these kids throw up. There'll be big trash cans everywhere for the kids to throw up. And then we're going to go outside, and we're going to do the mud challenge that they did. And go ahead.
While we're still on the food challenge, can I tell you a challenge I did once with a bunch of students? We did a peach contest, so a peach eating contest. So what it was is I had a bracket of like 8 people on each side, and in order to win, you had those peach halves, you get in a can. Yeah, they're all in like syrup, sugary syrup.
Yes,
you have to put your hands behind your back, and you have to suck up the peach and eat it and swallow it, right? And so like first round, you're doing like 2 in order to win. And then if you make it, then you have to do 3 in order to win. So that was 4 down to 2. And then the challenge, you got to do like 5. So the girl who won left and threw up because she'd eaten so many peaches. But it was so much fun. All right, go ahead.
But
can't believe you tell us.
You just reminded me that he's coming momentarily. He is moments away. About keeping their hands behind their back. I forgot about that. So anyway, so that's the food challenge. And then let's see. Then we're going outside to do the mud challenge that they did in Brains, Brawn, and Beauty, where you got to run to the end of a kiddie pool. There's going to be a bunch of topsoil and water. They got to pick up mud and carry it down to the other end. And then we're going to do a water challenge in a similar way, where we're going to fill coffee cups and poke holes in them like they did in Worlds Apart. And they're going to have to plug as many holes as they can and carry the water across the field and try to fill up a bucket. So we're going to do all those. It's going to be fun. A lot of mud, a lot of water, a lot of fun.
Right. Sounds like it.
It is. I'm excited. And they're going to, it's neat. The guys were there tonight making big dice to use for the trivia, where they can choose 1 through 4 or true, false. So it's going to be fun.
Be probes?
Moi. They offered to let me do it. They did. They said, you can do it. I said, I'll do it. I said, I thought I was doing it. No, I said, I'll be happy to do it.
Yeah, you were like, I am doing it. I am. You're like, I'm 3 times the man Probst is.
Maybe. It's possible.
David in the chat room says, guys, if the topic happens to turn to the DWSC, could you please ask Andy what advice he has for 40-something male Caucasian superfans who are going to apply and want to actually get selected from the vast pool of similar applicants? I'm sure Andy will tell you a blanket answer. But we will ask him. Becky says, we never did anything that fun in my youth group. Well, you needed a different youth group.
Yeah.
Man, I love, like, tomorrow I'm doing chapel for the like 3rd through or 2nd through 5th graders. Man, we are going to have a blast. We're going to do the whole, the king, the parable of the king who was taking care of all of his debts. And this guy come up to him and he owed him like a year's worth of salary. And the king says, and you need to pay me or you're going to go to prison. Yeah. And the guy goes, please don't make me pay you. And he goes, okay, you're forgiven. Then the guy goes out and finds somebody that owes him like a day's wage and puts the guy in prison for not paying him. And then the king brings the guy back and he like kills his entire family for not, for doing that. And I don't think he kills them, but he puts them all in jail. So, it's about, God's forgiving you, so you should forgive others, type of thing. But what I do is I like bring the kids up and I say, okay, you are the king. Right. And then I make them all play their parts. It's a lot of fun.
See, that's fun because I used to teach high school and Terry used to teach 2nd grade. And here comes Andy. Yeah. And now we're blended into the 6th through 8th grade of middle schoolers. So it's kind of interesting what I think they want to hear and what Terry thinks they want to hear.
Right.
So
you just tell Terry that you know what you're doing.
Why don't you just play that clip that you've been waiting to play?
Oh yeah. Here we go, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, our special guest tonight on D&D, the one and only Survivor Genius, and the bomb, Baker.
Oh my gosh.
Welcome to the show, Andy Baker.
I think that made the top 10 of moments of my life. And I don't know if that said something awesome about you or something horrible about me. I don't know.
Wow. Well, I'm so sorry you had such a rough night.
Oh,
All of our
God.
listeners are thanking God above that you are finally here.
Well, how'd the feedback go?
Well, one of them was pretty much making fun of me for not being able to pronounce Washington towns, states. It's not my fault. People in Washington do not know phonetics. It's not my fault. And then, the other one was Bart Labor, and he spoke very eloquently and predicted Figgy would win.
Figgy, not a bad choice.
Yeah. So, by the way, just really quick, Becky, I'm very sorry, and I hope you don't still go to a strict independent Baptist church. I really do. So, all right.
And he's like,
Baker.
what have y'all been talking about?
Well, Andy, at least, unlike Steve, Andy listens to our show. Not every week, I don't know, but he does listen to our show. So he'll probably hear the first part of our show and know what I was talking about.
I will, absolutely.
Yeah.
By the way, I have to commend you on not only is your video feed amazing, but I'm liking all this new equipment you got going on over there. My Lord, you got all legit on me.
Who, David?
No, you got the big old microphone right there. Like, that's super duper right there.
Yeah, he said if he
That's right.
can't sound professional, he's at least going to look professional.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, no.
Well, I'm trying to get those voiceover gigs, so, and no one's hiring me. So
That's why he looks so good, because he's trying to get the voice gigs. That's right.
yeah, but look at David's. Look at David's. I'm going to put it up on David's screen so everybody can see David even while we're talking. Look at that. That is an amazing backdrop. He's got an actual Survivor tarp from what season? Panama?
Yeah.
From Panama. Got an actual tarp. It's signed, like Sierra signed it like 4 times. It's got a lot of signatures on it. Thanks to
Suri signed it.
yeah, Suri. Who sent that to us? Was that Louise Craven? Is that who it was?
Oh gosh.
Oh, we're gonna be in trouble for not remembering.
I'm about to send it back.
Well, see,
Yeah,
the
way to
thing
go.
is, anybody, I mean, once you meet John Batea and you see the stuff he has, really nobody's collection measures up. Like, I mean,
Yeah. Well,
it is.
David's line still looks pretty good though.
Oh, yeah.
You were spot on. It is Luis.
And David, I'm a little confused. Those are called Funkos, right?
Mhm.
Is that a Jesus Funko in the middle?
This?
No, the other side. The other side of that one. Yeah, no, there. No, in between those.
That?
It looks like a Jesus Funko.
It's a
Doesn't it,
Survivor
Andy?
Cup. It's a Survivor
No.
Cup.
Well, from where I saw it, it looked like a Jesus Funko because I don't see the top of the cup.
Can you
All
see
right,
this
I
one?
was like, what?
That's,
Hold
I
on,
know you
which
can't see
one?
this one.
No, now I can. Who is that?
It's a lady with swords and a very time period dress on.
Okay, who is it?
It's Elizabeth Bennet from Pride and Prejudice and Zombies.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
Terry didn't find that as funny as I did when I gave it to her, so I told her I'd put it up here.
David actually gave her that for a present. Like,
One
he gave
little.
gave his wife a Funko for her birthday, and I'm like, David, who collects Funkos? Me. Does your wife have any Funkos? No.
I still want to make inappropriate non-family friends.
Let's not. All right, so Andy, tell us your thoughts on the season. Just go. Tell us what you're thinking.
Well, I don't know if you guys have touched on some of this. I mean, I listened to your preseason. Who the heck are these guys? And then your breakdown. But some of the stuff that jumps out at me before I talk about individual people, it's I mean, it's the big stuff. Like, what's the shape of the game going to be? Like, okay, we have 10 versus 10. When are they going to do the inevitable and mix them up? They're going to do it, like they did in second chances, where they're going to do 6-6-6. Is that too soon? Are they going to sustain this division a little longer? Would they then go 5-5-5? Because one of the things, that's happening here, and I mean, I'm reading too much into it, but Probst, this whole cast is stacked with Probst bromance guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the perfect place for his bromance guys is in a smaller tribe of 6 or 5, where you need that dominant alpha male presence.
Right.
So they're not going to be able to resist mixing them up and creating a dynamic where his favorites can make the merge en masse. So I mean, I think that's likely. And then I don't know if they carry that all the way down to the merge, or if they do a 7 against 7, if they go 6-6-6 and then get down to 14 and split at 7, or, but that's the kind of thing where it can have a real impact on the game, because we have some players who can hide in 10 versus 10 that are going to have a real hard time hiding in smaller tribes.
Right. But do you think they're going to switch up the game from Millennials versus Gen X in the 3rd episode and go 6-6-6?
Again, I mean, they did that in second chances, which is our last reference point. Granted, those are returning players, and so they might feel more comfortable doing it there. But I do think that they really like the small tribe dynamic. And
what if they waited to 16? All right, because so their first opportunity is at 18 to go to either 2 or 3 tribes.
Mm-hmm.
If they wait to 16, they could go to 2 again, right? And then the very next episode go to 3.
Well, I think you're risking, if you go to 16, you're risking a lopsided season. If somebody goes into a bad run, you're risking two dominant tribes by the winning season.
But I was saying just for one episode.
Yeah. Well, I like going down to 6-6-6 because it's only 2. But like I said last week, I've changed my thought on the Gen X versus Millennials. Instead of keeping them separated and trash talking and challenges, mix them up. This is what they want. They want to see conflict. They want to see drama. So I understand what you're saying, Dwayne, but I just soon go 6-6-6 as soon as possible, and hopefully we get a near even balance. But otherwise, like Andy said, it's going to put the alpha males in a good spot, that they're going to be needed for a little while. But it brings about drama. It's got to bring about some sort of drama that they want for the show, for the season.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to, and I'm sure they have it, they planned it out and laid it out, how long they want to sustain, being able to talk about Gen X versus Millennials, and how much Probst is on board with stoking those fires. And, I might be in a minority, but I do think that, a big thing like 6-6-6 or 5-5-5-B5, that's probably chosen. But the ability to merge at different points, they can be flexible with these things. And David, you can speak to this as well. When you're in production, doing on the other side of it, you start to see there are certain things you kind of have to lock into, but other things you can play it by ear.
Mm-hmm.
Based on what's going on in the game. Not that you're trying to play favorites, but I was listening to the DWSC podcast you guys did with John and Mike, and I'm still very sorry that I missed that one. But they were talking about the flow chart that we had for the placing of immunity idols. That's the kind of thing, like, it depends on what's going on, how many we might use.
I was going to ask about that. So I wonder if they have a couple of options in play depending on what happens. So if they are planning to go 5-5-5, so they're planning to wait 5 episodes, but one of the teams is like just blowing away the other team, then they change it up.
Yeah, and I think we've seen examples in the past. The one that first comes to mind is in One World, they did a swap where they just egg smashed, and it was totally random. And one of the swap tribes was so much more powerful.
Mhm.
They were just crushing, and they switched it up or merged. I can't remember which at this point. They ended it quickly. And that's the kind of thing. And you can see it often in challenges that they use after, where it's like, oh, that could have worked as a, either as an individual challenge or as a team challenge, or that reward challenge looks like it could have been an immunity challenge. They can do that. And the thing is, and I'm not trying to knock Survivor for this. I think that adaptability is great, and Kierhofer's a genius. Like, he has things that are flexible that you could use either way depending on how the game plays out.
Right.
That's what Durham did last year, where y'all switched Saturday and Friday. For the most part, a lot of the rewards were in immunity, and some of the immunities were rewards. So we were watching that.
You see the challenges, and you're like, well, we can repurpose this, and we can find a way to turn what was an individual challenge into a relay, and that stuff's fun. So, go ahead.
I would think they would be proactive and say, let's plan an early swap or early change up, and if things go well, we can hold off for a later swap. I would think they would do the other way, Dwayne. Instead of holding off and possibly having to change earlier, they plan to change early and then possibly wait if they want to let it go a little bit further. If it goes 1-1, the first 2 episodes, I mean, sure, you can wait a little bit longer. But if it goes 2-0, then I think you got to switch something.
Well, honestly, once you establish Millennials versus Gen X, that's going to kind of play, as we've seen recent years, that's going to kind of stick around throughout the season. I mean, there'll be a couple of people that connect with others, but there's going to be a general sense of Millennials versus Gen X, and some are going to really stick with that, no matter what they do.
Yeah, well, and I think, gosh, I wish I could. Paul Ferrucci, I think I'm saying his name right. Maybe I'm not. Writes over at True Dark Times, talks about social psychology stuff, and it's the issue of priming. And there's a lot of priming going on in this season, where players are being primed to think of everything in terms of Millennials versus Gen X, and it's not only how they see themselves, but how they see their tribe and how they see the other people. And that language is going to appear throughout the whole thing, and you're going to have young versus old. But I mean, you look at the spread of ages, and really, there's at least one person on each tribe is probably better suited to be in the other tribe, but their age kind of puts them in to where they are. But the people at the far ends of it, they're the ones who are going to really embrace this whole thing. Like, Paul is going to be all about those young whippersnappers who get trophies for everything, and the real young millennial types will be talking about those old fogies who don't know anything. It's just putting a different name on what we see every season anyway.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because I was thinking that when you started saying that, in that it was smart of them to give them such a title or a theme for their tribes, and that it's not just one world, men versus women, the old story of men versus women. It's a generation versus another generation. You are that, and Probst is going to reinforce that at every challenge and every opportunity, that you are that generation and they're that generation. So once you mingle, you're still representing that generation. You're not just representing a gender or a country. You're representing a group of people that's specific in age, and it's your people. So yeah, I think it's a mentally programmed theme they're going to be carrying with them throughout the whole thing. Like Dwayne said, all the way to the end, it's going to still be Millennial and Gen X. So
yeah. Plus, Probst isn't gonna, stop saying it either.
He's not gonna let him forget it. That's right.
No.
We put a lot of money into this.
Particularly, I think he's going to like it in the sense that I personally think, I look at this cast up and down, and I just think the Millennials are pretty stacked, and you're going to see some of these young kids, embracing the theme, and I suspect that there's going to be a fair bit of late game dominance by one tribe, and I have a feeling it's going to be Millennials.
Yeah, in my D&D Survivor Challenge team, I have 6 Millennials and 4 Gen Xers.
Yeah,
and
it makes it makes complete sense. Like, I mean, again, looking up and down when I was first making some sort of sense of tiers, I was just like, wow. All of these Gen Xers are dropping like flies. I keep leaning over to the millennial side.
So, okay, so you talked about that. Is there another aspect of the season that you're wanting to bring up?
Yeah, there's two more things. One, and I know you must have touched on it, but the aspect of religion.
Oh, yeah, we've definitely touched
it is going to have a massive impact on this season.
It's quite obvious that it's
going
to.
And I mean, for multiple reasons. Like, it's one thing for them to bring it up. It's another thing for Survivor to keep leaving it in the videos.
Yeah.
And leaving it in the bios. It's like, they're priming us to understand that this is going to be a part of the season. They don't really like dwelling on it too much. You know, obviously you had the whole coach thing in South Pacific. But I think there's going to be no way to escape it. And so they know that they're going to have to, some degree, embrace it. And you know, whether it's a holdover from what a previous theme design might have been, or was, you know, happenstance that so many of them are religious. But it is, and you wonder, it's like, did they stack it this way because one of the ways that Gen Xers and millennials are different is their approach to, the fundamental, pillars of community of the past, things like religion. They view religion differently, and so we want them voicing that.
Well, and yet a lot of the proclaimed Christians are on different tribes.
It's true.
I think are that way, and you've got Gen Xers that are that way.
Yeah, I think there's a higher concentration with the millennials, which is perhaps a bit shocking and a bit, not what you would expect. But it's there. Even the ones who are saying, well, I don't really care too much about religion as long as it's not in my face. Well, that showed up, in I think it was Jay's commentary. So he's talking about religion, even if he's saying that I'm not that religious.
Yeah.
Right.
But so
it's going to be an aspect. It should be interesting.
Yeah, well, and I think, and that feeds into my last one. One of the reasons why I think it'll be a factor is, I know Probst is, sort of hyping this storm they're going to have, typhoon or hurricane or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. But talk about something that's going to turn people closer to their faith.
Right.
Being exposed to that and, going through one, heck of a weather-filled season. And I think it's going to alter the fates of certain kinds of players. Like someone like when I'm just looking through everything, I'm thinking, Michaela, I don't think really has much of a shot. She stands out a bit much on her tribe. But then I think, but post-storm, when you need someone who's a little bit more grounded and you're surrounded by a bunch of sort of slacker types or laid back, kickback kind of people, I think you're going to end up with Mama Michaela. Yeah, Michaelia, however you pronounce it.
Maybe
that's what I got from the millennials as well. Is that I was asking Steve and Dwayne, who do you trust more? A guy that wants to go jump off a log? He says he'll be loyal, and he might be loyal, but when it comes time to make plans, deep plans, and stick to the plan, do you trust that guy, or do you trust somebody who seems to have life experience and knows what it means to put your faith in somebody and loyalty? And that's why I was leaning more towards Michaela than Taylor. Taylor is just a fun guy who's going to work hard in challenges, but does he know how to get back to camp? Or does he remember? I'm just picking on him, but he's the guy. He jumps off. If there's a log, he jumps off of it. Whereas Michaela says that we could burn that tomorrow night. That could be part of our dinner. So. Yeah,
well, and I think. It's going to have this impact where I think in general, one of my many crackpot theories is that sort of there's a survivor prime somewhere in your early 30s where you're no longer a 20-something who, isn't taking life as seriously yet, and you might think that the show will catapult you to something else. Mm-hmm. While the 30-somethings who go out there are still young enough and physically fit enough to compete, but they see this as their one shot and they're willing to take risks. And you throw a typhoon at some people, and those people might rise up. But when you have a whole tribe of millennials, and you throw hardship at them, someone's going to rise. Someone who has some substance to them. They may not be in their 30s, but it's going to be. They're going to need that. And I look at that tribe, and I don't see a lot of it. But you're also going to have, if the weather is that bad, the older players are going to have a hard time coming back from that physically. Like, it just grinds us down a little bit faster. We're a little bit slower. We're a little bit, it's harder to recover from that kind of stuff, but on a physical level. But I think the younger players will struggle on an emotional level.
I'm sorry. I just want to add to what he just said. This is why we talk to @SurvivorGenius. That's his Twitter handle. Because who's going to keep that cord attached to the game when they're away from the island waiting for the storm to move away? Whether they're on lockdown or not or whatever, who on that millennial tribe is going to keep in game mode and keep attached to the game, where some of these people are going to be watching the storm saying, wow, I can't believe. I mean, Probst even says, some of them responded like, this is cool, we're on a Survivor first and we're experiencing this. And I see people like Michaela and Zeke, two people I think are still going to be playing the game, still going to be thinking game and attached to the game. And because the way he was talking, he'll probably try to talk somebody into leaving while they're waiting for the storm to run out. Yeah. I like that thought about that. Who's going to come back different, and who's going to come back and rise, after this. And I think about who's still going to be connected to the game. Who's going to have that line still to the beach, thinking about the game and what they got to do when they get back, and who's just going to say, wow, that was cool. All right, here we go. It's time. Game on. First pitch is coming back out again. Or who's going to be still thinking as they're standing to the side.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead, Andy.
Yeah, no, I was just saying that's absolutely true, and that it's everything is game. We hear that over and over again. Everything is game, even something that is seemingly taking you out of the game. That's game. How do you react to it? How do people around you react to it? How do you make them feel about how they're reacting to it? Like, there are subtle ways where you can encourage people to, be okay with not going all out because it just hurt a little too much, and other people who you will bolster because you need them and you want them around, and it'll be fascinating to see who's got a clear mind after what I don't want to diminish it. Like, I'm sure what they go through is hard. I'm sure that everyone has genuine reactions, and it's okay to have those genuine reactions, but then you have to take that step back and say, okay, what am I going to do with these genuine reactions? Because the game's on.
Right.
So Probst said that the millennials as a group, so, anytime you make a general statement, there's some that don't fit into that statement, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So he said the millennials tended to react like cool, just like David just said, it's a Survivor first, this is party time, fun stuff. Where the Gen Xers as a group tended to be more, this is serious, this could, they took it completely differently. They handled it differently. So it'll be interesting to see which of the did not fit into the mold or fit into that generalization.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm constantly reminded of, I just got reminded of it recently. Jack Nicklaus was talking about why it's harder to win when you're in your 40s. And he said, when you're a 20-something, and you're playing, you're not worried about much. But when you're playing in your 40s and you're lining up for that short putt, you remember all of the short putts you missed.
Yeah.
Have this accumulation of things that you're worried about. And it's the same thing, with these, the older players who are going to be out there on the island for this. Like, they're used to spending more time in their life worrying about things. Like, they own a house that they're worried about. They've raised kids that, kids are a source of worry constantly. And if there's one thing I miss about my 20s, I look back and it's simply not having to worry. And so, it's these, the 20-somethings can ride out a hurricane and like stand out in high winds and rain, sideways rain, and think this is cool. Well, the Gen Xers will look at it and say, this could really turn bad.
Yeah.
Are we
Right.
far enough away? You know.
Well, and I'm sure any of them that have kids are like, look, I don't need to die. I mean, I got kids and a family, so.
Yeah.
So anyway, Andy, I'm interested. Are you going to submit a team to our D&D Survivor Challenge in our Facebook group?
I certainly can do that. I mean, I have my list of names here in front of me. Knowing that I was going to be coming on, I sat down and did even a little more homework today. And you guys are just picking 10 people, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Would you like us to tell you who our 10 are?
Oh, I listened to your podcast. I heard your list. Although it would be good to hear them again because I was listening to it when I wasn't as familiar with the players. So yeah, read away.
Well, we can let Andy give his, and we can share ours as we do.
Well, I'm going to have to do a little bit of work because right now, the thing that I am turning left and constantly looking at here, I have my my
Your
bottom.
tiers.
Yeah, my tiers. I have my bottom dwellers. I have my and my okay. Let's see what these people can do. But the group it's a mix of people I really like and some, but there's too many of them.
Well,
I'm gonna have to trim some people out of that group.
Why don't David and I tell you our teams and like one at a time?
Sure.
Like I'll tell you my top and David will tell you his top, and then you tell us where you have those people.
Sure.
How's that? Is that okay, David?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So my first person was Zeke. David, who's your top person?
He was also my first person.
So Zeke is our top person, Andy. Where is he on your list?
What tier is he in?
Yeah, he's in the top tier for multiple reasons. One, I like him. Two, when Probst says things like he's just like Hatch, well, who doesn't love Hatch, right?
Yeah, right.
And he's also being showcased in commercials, which, I mean, granted, perhaps that's too meta and, sort of taking into consideration things we shouldn't take into consideration. But I think it's a sign he sticks around for a while. He's colorful. I think he'll play the game. I think he can bridge the groups. I think people who might bridge between the two tribes early on might be looked at as threats because, I don't know if you're going to stay true to us. But those are the kinds of people after the merge who can do some real damage. Right. I think he's self-aware. I think he knows the game. I think we need to talk to him about coming and playing in the DWSC.
Hello.
Because he played in Survivor Brooklyn, which is just a far cry from what we do up in Maine. It's just not
biased or anything.
It's not in the same category, and so Zeke needs to see how a fan run game can really be done. But
it be in Brooklyn?
What's that?
I mean, y'all are in Maine in the woods, and they're in Brooklyn.
Yeah, playing in the park, and it's like a backyard barbecue.
Okay.
But hey, I don't want to knock it because anyone who's creating games out there, it ain't easy, and it just shows you love the game. So keep at it, love it. We want an entire minor leagues. We want the Real Foots. We want Survivor Brooklyn. We want these games out there, Pirate Booty Camp. But all right, back to Zeke. Zeke's great, love him. I have a hard time seeing him win because I think the things he would do to get there. I think if you have a jury, again, religion is going to impact things. If he does that kind of stuff and you have a jury packed, with the God Squad, you're going to not win. Right. But I think he's going to be real interesting along the way.
I had the exact same thing I could see him getting to the finale of the season, but not winning.
Yeah.
All right. My second player was Brett. And David, who is yours?
Mine was Chris.
So Brett and Chris are both on our team.
You could not set that up on a better tee for me.
Hello.
I think those two are going to have a power struggle. I think that, I don't know about you, but when I've been around a couple of big guys in any sort of scenario, when I was at a fraternity in college, as soon as there's two big guys around one another, someone's got to figure out who's in charge.
Right.
And I look at those two, and I mean, I like Brett because he's got the improv thing. He's the cop, right?
Mhm.
And I really like he's self-aware. I think he's charming. I think Chris is more intense, but I suspect that Chris wins that power battle.
Yeah. You think?
And I think Brett may end up paying the price. So I like him, but I think he might be in some danger.
That's why I had Chris and I had Brett going before the merge for that very reason. The alpha male struggle that it's gonna. Those I just saw those. They're both huge, and Paul is too for that matter. But I could see Paul taking a step back from those two if those two start to lock horns at some point. And Brett seems to have this sense of humor, which is very attractive. But at the same time, like you said, Chris seems pretty intense. And I don't know.
Yeah.
To me, I had to choose one or the other. I didn't feel like I could take both.
Yeah, and I have both on my team, and I'm wondering if I made a mistake or not.
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, Chris is in my top tier, just because I needed a Gen Xer who I thought would stick around. I still think he's your prototypical. If they're down in numbers, as I expect they will be, he'll be a merge boot or just before the merge because they know the merge is coming. But I just think he'll have a measure of control in the game, and if they go to smaller tribes, I think he'll have a safe spot there. But as we head to the individual game, he's in a world of hurt if he doesn't have the numbers.
Yeah, I got him second because I think for points in the game he'll do well, but I got him going shortly after the merge.
Yeah, points in the D&D Survivor Challenge.
Yes.
Got it.
So my next person, my number 3 is Mari Takahashi. And David, who is your number 3?
It was Michaela.
Michaela. And I believe, I do not have Michaela on my team, and David does not have Mari on his team.
I'm going to side with David on the Mari thing.
Of course.
Well, but no, see, the thing is, I mean, one of my, again, bazillion crackpot theories. I mean, when you go into a season, you have to look at people as individuals, and then you have to look at what tribe they ended up in. I would bet on someone like Mari in most seasons, depending on what the mix was. But I think she's got the competitive drive. I think she's got the talent. I think she's charming. I think she's all of these great and wonderful things. I'd love to sit down and just talk with this person. She fascinates me. But I think she's going to, I look at her tribe, and I just think that she's going to stand out, not because of age, but like you have all of these people who are going to be sort of laid back, fun-loving. I mean, I look at people like Figgy or Hannah or Jay and Taylor, and even Zeke early on is going to be playing the, keep it light, keep it fun card. And I just think she is going to come across as intense and highly competitive. And wanting to strategize. And like we saw in San Juan del Sur, someone like your good friend Kelly Wentworth, when you're surrounded by people who don't want to strategize or don't want to come across that way, they target the people who are. And so you might get Wentworth. At least that's how I see it. And I actually think, and I'll guess I'll hear if I can't remember if he's on your list, but I think Adam's going to fall into that same category. But we'll get to him when you guys bring him up. Mm-hmm. As for Michaela, I mean, I've shaped this whole theory around her. As soon as I heard, like, okay, I mean, because Probst talked about it. I'm not spoiling anything. He talked about how the weather hits in that first episode. Mm-hmm. I originally had her slated for not doing incredibly well because, she was calling herself, opinionated, and she's got these multiple, personalities to her. And, but I just think when the storm hits, she's more grounded. She's been through more. I think she's going to respond better to all of that. I think they're going to see that strength in her. And I think she's going to call on, her faith, and the other people who have faith on that tribe are going to be attracted to that. And frankly, they're going to need a mom, and there's no other mom on that tribe. Mm-hmm. And so I have her in my top category, solely because I think the game turns. I think, the heavens hand her an opportunity.
And maybe so. So by the way, David, I have a proposition for you.
You're gonna want to switch players around, aren't you?
No. I say each one of us gets one mulligan.
No,
We get to swap
Chicken.
out one player.
you chicken.
Come on.
I knew it. I knew it was coming. His face is getting.
Please.
Andy, no, Andy, no, Andy. Don't agree with him anymore.
Please. No, I actually thought about this before the show. Can we each have one mulligan?
I tell you what. We'll let the chat room decide. Let the chat room vote. Yes, mulligan
Chat
or no
room.
mulligan.
Well, we've got Becky and Tina in the chat room right now, and
That's
you and
fine.
me.
It can
Wait,
be a
I'm going to
tie.
vote. I'm going to vote. I'm going to vote yes to the mulligan. Let's see what they say, and we'll update you. In other words, I want to be able to swap one of my team, one of my players, and David will also get to swap one of his players. And I know there's one that he wants to swap. Becky says yes. All we need is Tina. Come on, Tina. Look at this face. Yes!
Hi, Becky and Tina.
All right. I am going to go ahead and make my swap.
Who's swapping?
Oh, I'm not going to tell you who I'm swapping.
You're
you
totally
should.
gonna pick Rachel, aren't you?
What? Just give me a second. Oh, actually, okay. So let's go ahead and go on to our next ones.
Okay.
Well, when we get to your swap, you can tell us who it is.
Yeah, I may not tell you who it is.
All right, so speaking of Adam, Adam's next on my list because for points, we're talking about somebody I think that's smart. I think he's kind of aggressive, but can play laid back. But I think for points, I think he's going to do well in that category. But I liked. Oh, you just said something about who were we just talking about?
By the way, Adam is also on my.
Mari, about her being competitive aggressive. I know what that's like to get called out for that, and I think she's going to get called out for that. I completely agree that there's too many laid-back people out there that are going to be willing to not do anything, and it's going to be obvious that she wants to do something. She's such a gamer. She's probably going to come across as a former survivor to these people. She's such a gamer. So I want to pull for her. I just think she's going to get targeted because of that.
Yeah, no, again, she has all the raw skills. The only thing missing is that she wasn't a big, I mean, she crammed before going out there, but she wasn't a Survivor fan when she got recruited. But she, again, she's somebody that I would trust to see everything as game. And those are my people. But she's not surrounded by the right people.
Right.
If she got swapped onto that Gen X tribe, I think she would coast to the merge.
Oh, and Dwayne, before you say that, the other thing that I wanted to draw back on was life experience. And Michaela's life experience I thought was important. Well, don't talk about still Michaela, but I think on the other side, it's Ken. I'll get to Ken in a minute. I actually put him on there because of his life experience, because he's the one I picked out saying that's the guy that's going to flip to the Millennials if he gets to that point because of his age. But listening to him talk, he seems much more mature or older than his years. So let's. I'm going getting ahead of myself now, but let's go back to Adam. I've got Adam on my team. I think he's going to get points. I think he's going to do at least the middle tier, as Andy's calling it. I see him going at least that far.
Yeah, I definitely have him in the middle tier. I mean, he's articulate. He's sharp. He's everything that the kind of players that I gravitate to. But again, I think his intensity. I think I think other people have made the comparison. He's a bit like Neil, ice cream guy, where there was even some early footage where he was doing the same thing Neil did, where he's talking to somebody in what may be a strategy conversation, might not be, but he does this sort of squinty thing where it's like an intense focus, and it's like you can't hide the fact that you're really smart and you're thinking about everything strategically, and that's not a great thing in the game. And so that intensity, I think, may get him in trouble. And I mean, it's always a red flag for me when you just have to wonder, particularly, again, I don't want to read too much into this storm, but this is a guy who left at home a mom with stage 4 cancer. And, talk about, being in the middle of a storm and thinking, why the hell am I here? And we've talked about this before with professional athletes, right?
Yeah.
where it's like, do they have it in their gut to want to stay? It's like, why am I here? I have $1 million at home. Why am I doing this? And the gut check that this guy would have, I think he's really passionate about it. I love the job that he has. I think he's wired completely the right way. But how do you keep your head in the game? How do you do that when you're faced with the conditions that you're faced with?
Right.
And the mom is really ill.
Mm-hmm.
Do it. Like, I mean, I love this game more than anything, and I don't know that. And my mom would tell me to go. She would, but I couldn't do it. It's my mom.
Yeah.
So I admire the fact that he went out there, but I mean, from moment one, they're out there a lot longer than those 39 days.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's a long time to be thinking about your mom.
All right, my next player is also on David's team, and it is Hannah Shapiro.
She's in my if I'm going to choose 10 players, she's going to be in my 10. I love her to death. I want to meet her. I want to tell her that I love everything about her. She is, as everyone's saying, she's the strange love child of Aubrey and Cochran.
Wow.
I mean, I'd align with her in a heartbeat. I think she'll be in a fair bit of trouble, though, until the merge, particularly if they go down to smaller tribes, just based on physicality. She may not fit in with the God Squad, and I'll deduct 5 points from her final exam for having been trained by Max Dawson.
Yeah, that's what I said. How is that a positive? He didn't do too. He's doing much better in his podcast than he is with this.
Max is a really, really knowledgeable guy, and so she, I'm sure, learned a lot about the game. Let's just hope she doesn't emulate his game. But I mean, I think she'll have a good, bubbly personality, and I think we've talked before, camp kindness really matters. Mm-hmm. I think people will be happy to have her around, but at various points, she's going to spike in the liability area, and that's when they may let her go. Particularly if you have any savvy people around who see her as a liability, but see the merge coming and realize she's somebody who can do a heck of a lot of damage after a merge. Yeah. Like if you decide to go alpha hunting after the merge and there's 3 of those left, and then suddenly she's there and it's final 8, final 7, and she knows what she's doing, she's super dangerous. She's the kind of person after a swap that I'm leaning over to everybody else saying, "You gotta get her gone." Yeah. But unless, if she's not in my alliance, if she's in my alliance, then hey, let's ride it all the way. But she's somebody I'd want to align with, but I have a feeling that at some point she is going to be an outsider to what's going on.
All right.
And that's when she
David,
goes home.
who's your next person, and are they on my team as well?
I don't think he's on your team. This is my opposite of Michaela, is Ken, who recently, a while back, found out he had a daughter, I guess, who's 4.
He is
not. And he was lived off the grid in Hawaii. To me, I mean, that's some real deep experience there for life. And I picked him out because I think he's at a model at some point. He's got that look where he would be the one that would go to the Millennials and say, "Hey, I should be with you guys." He'll pull the Alicia. I should be with you guys. I'm on the wrong tribe, and he could blend in quickly, and that would be bad for the Gen X. He still might, but he just seems like he could fit in with a group. He's got the look, he's got the body to play the game. He just looks like he could fit in, and I think he's going to go further. My initial reaction was not, but now, because he could be a threat, but now I've got him in my middle tier group.
It's like we're brothers from other mothers, man. My first notes on him were, I mean, his voice was annoying me, and I came across as a little bit odd, and I was thinking, he feels like he got put in the wrong group. But then I started thinking, like, he's the kind of person who would pair up with somebody like Mari. And they could have swapped places but they also, I think, could have some commonality being right there in the middle age-wise. I started to like him more and more. On the soft touch for the whole, reunited with your child thing. And I think he'll probably break that out while he's out there. I think that's inevitable, and I think that's going to tug at some heartstrings, and people are going to like him. He's your classic right around the merge guy, right?
Yeah.
Or he's on the wrong side of a swap. I mean, I think he'll be okay early because he's got the physicality, and he's nice. And so when you hit day 9 and you want to throttle some people, he's not one of the people you'd want to throttle. Like, I listened to his interview, and he was talking about how he's more serious now, and the flings are a thing of the past and all of that. Like, it's, it took him a while. Clearly he's in his 30s, but he's growing up.
Until Ponderosa.
Yeah, if we got that old Ken, he would be the threat to go down to the Millennials. But this is the older kid. This is the next Ken. So that's why I think he could play that charm, and I think he could get at least to the middle.
Yeah, I just, I hope that, I was, oh gosh, what was his name in Worlds Apart? He was on the white collar. What was his name? Who sort of looked a little bit like Ken? Joaquin.
Yeah.
Yeah. I first was getting PTSD flashbacks looking at Ken, thinking, "Oh God, you're one of those guys." But I don't know that he knows the game very well. But I think he's got people skills. So we'll see how far that carries him.
My next person is Michaela. Oh wait, we've already talked about her, so I'll just move on. That's who I swapped into my new team. I took out Cece and I put in Michaela. My next person is Michelle, and Michelle is not on David's team.
She is. I am so all over the map with her. She's charming. She's obviously lovely. But she, in the God Squad group that is going to be forming, she goes to some more extreme places with it, I think.
She's a translator, right? Bible translator.
Yeah, and I just think, like, people are going to be like, yes, we all have faith here, but your faith is starting to creep me out a little. Like, it goes this extra step where I don't know. It just, there was something just a little bit off when she was talking. There were times when she was 100% normal, and then she's talking about flirting, and it's like, okay, but then she would say something, and it's just like, oh, if you're talking like that on the island, I think some people, might not connect with you if you talk that way.
Okay. There's another person. Was it Michaela who said, or was it Michelle who said, other people are going to be missing their families, but I'm not, because
that was her.
Was that Michelle?
Yeah. Yep.
And yeah, you're right. That might happen.
But that said, like, she is, if she's going to play the flirt card, I think she's, when we'll get to it when we bring up their names, but I think she's going to lose out, and her only obvious target's going to become Jay, but that's the wrong guy. And I think, she could float for a while. I mean, I think she's pretty non-threatening. I think she'll sort of play the loyalty card. I don't think anyone's ever going to think that, she's, for all of her talk about women being the downfall of men, I really don't think under the pressure she's going to do that. And so I think as long as people are happy to keep her around, I can see someone like, Michaela pulling her under her wing, with their commonality of faith. But, I mean, the thing I just come down to, I just don't think she's going to be a factor, whether she leaves early or leaves late. She'll kind of be there, and she'll go along until, the plans that other people are making turn against her.
I think because when I was doing this, she's standing right beside Figgy in the picture I was looking at when I was pulling up the names, and I thought, all right, who's going to flirt better? And who's going to do better? And it's like I did one or the other, because I actually split my tribe. I think I might have subconsciously done it on purpose, but 5 and 5 from each tribe. But even the men and women, I think, are 5 and 5. But I just picked Figgy over Michelle. I like Michelle, but I just think who's going to do it on day 16? Who's going to be mean, or who's going to lie, or who's going to flirt and keep it up? And I just thought it would be Figgy more than Michelle. It's like one or the other. I didn't think they'd both be playing the same strategy that long. So
Yeah.
that's why I went with Figgy instead of Michelle.
Let's go ahead and talk about Figgy, unless you have something else to say about Michelle, Andy.
No, that's a great transition to Figgy, because that's what I was going to talk
both
about.
of our teams. Figgy's next on my list, and she's on both of our teams.
And she is in my top tier for all of the reasons David's talking about. I think she has the charm. I think she's going to win the flirt wars. I think she's going to pull in Taylor, which I think both Michelle and Figgy are going to be interested in Taylor, because he's charming and athletic and sort of free spirited. And I think you don't win a flirt war against Figgy. You don't.
No.
So I think that's going to leave Michelle high and dry to maybe flirt with Jay, but Jay's just a little off. And I think that Figgy's just charming. And I think if the Millennials go on a bit of a run, which I suspect they will, I think she'll be charming enough that even if she's down in a 6 or 5 person tribe, that they won't be thinking about targeting her necessarily. And I think she's going to end up being in a pretty good spot.
All right, David, who's your next person?
My next person is Sunday,
who is not on my team.
She's not on your team. I
don't know. Keep...
Huh? Yes,
I'm
going to keep Sunday.
Sunday the one you're going to keep? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Have you decided? We'll go ahead. We'll talk about Sunday. She's not on mine.
She's another one.
Go ahead.
I mean, if she makes the merge, she could stick around. I just, she strikes me very much as your prototypical, old survivor, old mother who, talks in her interviews about the things she's going to do, but I just have no faith that she's going to do it. She's going to look for a strong alliance. I think she's going to, be happy that there are other people with faith around her. Yeah. And I can't see her playing the game too hard.
My thought is, if she gets with Millennials, even if it's a small tribe, I think that would be to her advantage. Could be to her advantage. Whereas, like you said, that motherly figure with Michaela, if she plays it right, it could work that way. But I don't know. I'm still doing this or that. There's a couple on there I didn't want to pick, and I picked her. So
yeah, I get you. I can see why you would do it, and I moved her around on my list a fair bit. I just sort of settled on, and it's really not fair. I mean, it's not. None of these judgments are fair in that we have such little information to go on. But sometimes someone says something, and she sort of did this, couple of quirky Fargo, voice moments where she says something just a little bit out there. And I'm thinking, okay, I don't know that you're going to connect with people.
Yeah.
And it's not fair. Like, I mean, I did that, like, who is it? Jessica. We may end up talking about her, but it's like there was one moment in what I saw of her where I was like, oh boy, okay. And now I have, this snap judgment, which is horribly unfair, but it's picking up on, basic human cues. Like if we're seeing it, they're seeing it even more and more often live.
24 hours a day. Yep.
Yeah.
So I made a mistake. Sunday is on my team. She was my last person on my team.
Okay.
And I kind of took a chance on her because I figured she's either going out very early, or if she survives early, then she'll be there long enough to get me points. So she'll be there past the merge if she gets there.
That's one thing too. I saw her doing confessionals for points.
Yeah.
I just thought
Really?
that was that. Yeah.
She didn't strike me as a confessional person.
Well, crud, because you do confessionals.
No, well, David, you can speak to this. That there's some people who get in there and they talk a lot, but they don't say much.
Oh,
And I think that's who she is. And those confessionals don't make the show. Like, she'll be happy to talk. She's a talker, but I don't think she's going to have the sound bites, and I don't think she's going to be tapped in enough into the strategy to be giving them something that they need to put on there.
I'll never speak names, but I'm picturing some faces in Maine right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure you are.
better not speak names because they listen.
But I love them all dearly.
Of course.
All right, so now we'll talk about some people that are not on our teams.
Hold on. I've still got two.
Oh,
two.
do you?
I've only gone through 8 of mine. Just because we've done your team. I'm just kidding.
By the way,
I'm just kidding.
have you done your mulligan?
No, I'm getting to it.
Are you going to do it before the end of before you finish?
Yeah, I'm getting ready to do it right now.
Okay, all right.
I was about to do it.
Well, I didn't know.
I'm just kidding. I know. I'm just giving you a hard time. All right, so my
Yeah.
mulligan was I chose Lucy for some strange reason.
Oh, good God, man. What are you thinking?
I know. And the more we talked, the more. Well, I'll tell you why. Because I like Rachel. I like Rachel as a tag along. I see them looking at that team and say, "Hey, we got our 3. Let's just grab Rachel." I think Rachel is distractingly, dangerously good looking, and I think she's going to use that very well. I see Rachel going far. I just didn't know if she was going to get confessionals and get points. That's what I had her as like number 11. But I think Rachel will go farther than Lucy. The more I think about Lucy, the more I think socially, I think Rachel's going to last longer. So I'm going to take my mulligan and take Rachel and drop Lucy. Sorry, Lucy.
All right, you've got to be happy that we have a mulligan, David. You have to.
Man, you with those two, you're just shuffling chairs around the deck of the Titanic, dude.
Andy is just stomping all over your pick.
Well, we're only off by 1 or 2.
Together here, the first 2 at the top, where I was like, all right, at the bottom, Rachel, Lucy.
Oh, I'm so sorry, David.
Oh no! It's fine. It's fine.
I mean, usually you and Andy are like right there, so this is kind of shocking to me.
I'm trying to think who else down here would give me points, but I don't. The other ones I just don't see in the top 10 of points because my other one. So now that we know where he finds Lucy and Rachel, I think, unless you want to say anything more about Lucy and Rachel.
Well, no, I think what could end up happening, as often happens, is someone like one of them ends up as a number in the right alliance, and they ride it out until they hit the merge. And they're never very important, but they're around for a while.
I think that could be Rachel more than Lucy. I think Lucy.
I agree. If you're going to choose between the 2 of them, absolutely. But I just, Rachel, this is so horribly unfair. She just does not come across as very bright in the information that we got, and she's hyping that she's an author.
She wrote a book.
No, she wrote what? She
is an author
with 7 other people.
She is a published author. Andy, are you?
Well, it's like me saying like I'm a successful screenwriter. I had a couple of things produced, but most of my life has been doing not that. Right, she is, she appeared in a book that got published, self-published, which is its own ballgame. Like you could write up the notes for this show and publish it on Kindle tonight.
That's true. And I'm an author.
And I don't want to belittle, again, she's somebody who cares deeply about inspirational stories, and that's great, and that's wonderful. Some of what she says, she speaks my language. Obviously, you guys know I'm a yoga guy, and so some of this stuff works for me. But I think, I don't think she understands the game. I think we're going to be lost. And I don't, unless she falls in with the right people. But I just have a sense like around a campfire, eventually you just be like, okay, we need to get you gone because you're just not contributing anything.
And how often have those people made it to the finale?
I know that is scary. You know, that is.
I mean, you see the tribes merge together, and you see Figgy forming her little group, and she looks around and she sees Ken, and she sees Chris, and then she sees Rachel, and she goes, "You know what? I could bond with Rachel in like 30 minutes. Ken, I can flirt with, but Chris, I will not get. So Chris has got to go. I just need Rachel first."
Yeah, well, certainly, like, I'm going to make a horrible, horrible confession right now, because it means I'm a bad.
Rachel.
No, I am a bad parent. Currently, I am watching Redemption Island with my family.
Oh.
And
Wow.
it's because it's the last season, because I like to pretend it doesn't exist. There's a few seasons we haven't seen because we don't have the DVDs and they're not streaming. Anyway, we're watching it, and it's fascinating to me. Like, Rachel falls into that category. She could be a Natalie Tenorelli or an Ashley or somebody who is just going to ride coattails, who's there as a number and is annoying, but as Boston Rob, it takes someone like Boston Rob who has a stranglehold on the situation to say, you annoy other people. That takes the heat off of me. So I'm going to keep convincing people to not take you out. And so someone like Rachel needs someone like, I don't know if Chris is capable of it, to say, to keep people like her around, because I think she'll just wear on people. Well,
Brett is most like Boston Rob.
Well, with the accent and all.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's all you need to be Boston Rob.
I mean, just once, and I know people make a lot of jokes about this, but you know how we judge people based on who they compare themselves to. What survivors are you most like? And if they pick someone interesting, we're like, oh, they know the show. And then the other people say Boston Rob or Poverty. Like, if you're going to mention those people, have some fun with it and be like, I'm like Boston Rob. It'll take me 4 times to win this game. Like, something interesting. Like, I mean,
right.
You're not Boston Rob.
Show that you know more than just the name.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Just prove like, okay, you understand, his evolution as a player, and then I will believe that maybe you could play like him. And just to get it out of the way, Lucy, for so many reasons, like bodybuilders just don't do well in this game because they're getting jacked because they want to look jacked when they're on screen, and those people suffer. Mm-hmm. They suffer so badly in the early days. And I think I've told you about this probably off the air, but one of my more interesting conversations over the years with people in person was, I met Jay Byers, of all people, from One World. Mm-hmm. And he's a model. And he got, with, talking to his agent, it's like, okay, put on about 25 pounds of muscle before you go out there so you look really good. And he did, and he had to eat a lot to have that happen because naturally he's slimmer. Mm-hmm. And he said, I was dying out there because you had built your body up to wanting 5,000 calories a day and you're getting 500. And she's not going to be going through quite that much, but she's a bodybuilder. And so her muscles will be suffering. Plus, I don't know if you know any bodybuilders, but they are creatures of routine. Mm-hmm. They want to eat at certain times. Numbers matter to them, reps, all that. Like, they control their lives to be able to get the bodies they want. And I admire it, but you can't do that on Survivor. Like, I mean, you're not going to be doing your reps. You're not going to be, getting the caloric intake.
I don't know. Joe was doing his reps.
I was going to say, Sydney was one tribal council from the finale, so.
Well, and I think she's just, well, the difference, I think, is Sydney had some attitude to her, but she, you also saw her smile.
She kept a rein on her attitude very well. I don't think Lucy's going to be able to do
all that. Of the footage of Lucy at this point, whether it's a still photo or I think, Dwaine, you mentioned this on one of the podcasts, like, she just looks so upset with the world.
No.
Yeah, I can't see her getting along with people. She just looks angry, and she's going to order people around, and no one's going to put up with it.
Yeah, they're not going to like that at all.
No.
So, David, do you have another person on your team?
I did. I had one more. This was I looked at this tribe and I started doing the process of elimination as to who would be voted out first, who might be kept for any reason, and I saw this guy is the only comedian, and his name happens to be David. So this is a throwaway, but I just put David right on there because I think he'll last longer than Paul. You know, I think Paul's probably going to rub somebody a funny way and not be kept around, but I think David can make people smile. I think he can be smarter than they give him credit for, and I think he could slide by and get further into the game. Plus, I think he's going to give good confessionals.
Yeah, I think you're right. He's going to give a lot of confessionals. The guy is naturally funny. It's a neurotic funny, which I find less funny, but it's still funny. I'm of two minds. Like I should, by all accounts, just absolutely adore this guy. And in some ways, I'm going to say something weird. He's me in that I used to live in Sherman Oaks. I used to be a writer out there, and obviously love Survivor. And I bet I would love to just hang out with this guy and talk shop. The thing that just gets me over and over again, he's frail. I mean, I can't get a complete read on his physicality, but like he is a bit awkward in his body, and he admits that. But there's a frailness to him, a thinness to him, I don't know. I mean, I think he's going to get beaten down a fair bit by what's going on out there, and he admits that too.
Yeah.
And I love that self-awareness, and he will have a lot of comedy at his own expense. But there's only so many puzzles that can save him. At some point, he's going to have to step up physically, and I don't see him having it. I think the game's going to be tough on him. But I hope I'm wrong because, again, I'd love for him to do well.
So who did you have that we did not cover yet in your top tier 10?
There was only one you guys have touched on, Chris and Zeke and Michaela and Figgy. You mentioned Hannah, Michelle. Again, I told you I had too many between my top and my eh. In my eh, I had Hannah, Michelle, Adam, Mari, David. Jessica. I keep wanting to make her have an alliance with Chris. They're both lawyers, I think they could pair up if people are pairing up. The thing that got me, though, and this was the unfair judgment, she had a moment of the crazy eyes. And I put too much stock in crazy eyes, where they're talking, and then the eyes pop, and you're like, oh my God. Like if I'm talking to you around the fire like that, you've got crazy eyes, I got to run the other direction.
Yeah.
And so maybe it's just a lifetime hanging with dairy cows. I don't know. But she set off sort of those internal alarms of, she may not last.
I got between strength and lasting 3 days socially. Through my elimination process, I had her as actually the first boot.
Yeah.
Jessica.
Wow. She's got that potential, no doubt about it. She's, I think, stronger than people are giving her credit for. In that, like, there was a shot in her video of her doing a handstand, and that's not easy. And if you spend a lifetime working with cows and working at a farm, you're not going to be weak.
Yeah.
But she might not integrate. I don't know. Although on that tribe again, Rachel, Lucy, Cece. I mean, there's plenty to choose from. And so the other people that we haven't touched on, Will, the kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about Will.
And it says something when you are so not formed as a human being that the only thing anyone can talk about you is your voice. He's in high school. I taught high school. I know 17 and 18-year-olds. Like, he's just not all the way there yet. I mean, I was really impressed with Julia Sokolowski last season, and I'm sure I just butchered her name, but I was impressed with her until things started to fall apart, and then you got to see, oh, right, yeah, you're young. And I think that's going to be Will if things aren't going his way. And I think he feels like he's capable of more things than he's capable of. David, you know this from playing in DWSC. You think you're one person. And you think like, okay, this is who I am, but maybe not in my real life, I'm not going to be mean to people, but when I'm in the game, I'm going to be able to do this and I'm going to be able to do that. No 18-year-old has the perspective to really know who they're going to be under those conditions. And particularly, I mean, he has faith in his life. It's important to him. He's going to have an even harder time to do the things that the game asks him to do. It's a big sign when somebody, and Michelle fell into the same category, when you talk about your willingness to do bad things, even though you're a religious person, and you kind of start to laugh and giggle while you do it. That's not because it's funny. That's nerves coming out because at your core, you can't.
Yeah, you know it's wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think Will can. I think he may ride an alliance for a bit, but I don't think he's long for the game.
Yeah.
And God bless him. He's an 18-year-old who did something, probably in his first try that I haven't been able to do. And
so so you also didn't mention.
Don't let that get to you.
Yeah. So you also didn't mention Jay and Taylor. Tell us what you think of Jay and Taylor.
Well, I'm going through the last of the list here. So let me just finish off the people at the bottom here. Cece felt like I think she's going to suffer out there. I don't think she's going to last very long. And again, totally unfair. But watching her chase around a frog, it's like I don't think you're going to do very well in challenges. Like I don't.
Why did they show that?
They're just showing goofy B-roll stuff, but she didn't move like somebody who's going to be able to move in a challenge the way you need them to.
Right.
And I don't know that she can counter that with enough positive energy. Although she's got a great smile, I give her all the credit in the world. Probably a really nice person to talk to, but I don't know that she's cut out for the game. I think, especially if they go down to smaller tribes and she's in the, she's going to be an easy boot. Paul, I think he's going to get marginalized. I think he's going to get some confessionals about being the crazy curmudgeon who's going to be the flag waving, flag bearing. I'm a Gen Xer and all these kids and because they're going to keep stoking that fire. But I just don't think he's going to be too much of a factor. And then we're down to Jay and Taylor, and I was trying to look at the two of them and thinking that the Millennials are going to, I think, have numbers. I think they're going to form, some sort of tight alliance that is going to ride a lot of the post-merge game. And like I was saying, I think Figgy is going to gravitate to Taylor. There was one, I think, publicity still of her talking to him. He's lying in the hammock or lying on something, and she's standing above him talking to him. And it reminded me so much of, you can read so much in the body language, and you could be completely wrong. But like there was one back in One World when there was a photo of Kim standing next to Chelsea, just talking. And you could tell already they were connected. Like these were partners. These weren't just friends. These weren't just people they had just met. They were working together.
Right.
Figgy and Taylor have a thing. That's what it felt like in that photo. Like there was so much comfort there, and she's flirting and he's leaning back, his body language. And so that's why I said if Michelle is going to find anybody, it's going to be Jay. I don't think that works out. I think, Jay is going to be in trouble at some point. But I see Taylor as potentially an endgamer. I think there were some shots of them. There were some shots of them, granted about 3 seconds worth, as a group, and he's laughing and smiling, and people are laughing and smiling along with him. I think people like him.
Yeah.
And he's going to be a challenge. He's going to be a challenge beast. And again, if they have numbers or when they swap, he's going to be useful to those smaller tribes. And you hit the merge, and he's got the numbers. Then at some point they'll talk about him, but there's going to be other more dangerous alphas, in line before him. And he was somebody who I think, no, maybe not. I just think he's, I'm not buying other people are talking about him as a Fabio guy, and maybe, but
I was thinking more of Eddie Fox from Caramoan, except without the medical training. That's more of what I was picturing.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, one guy is going to spend all of his money on going and shredding on the mountain. One of them wants to build, what was it, a dog bar?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
I'm gonna build a dog bar. It's gonna be the best dog bar you ever seen.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, as soon as I heard that, I was just like, how many health codes does that violate? I mean, seriously, can that even be a thing?
Hey, you don't have to. You don't have to build bathrooms. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. But I mean, I can see, when I start putting people into tiers and I start imagining a boot order, and I can see millennials like Taylor, Zeke, Michaela, Figgy, Michelle, even Jay being in that mix, and not being sure exactly how that's going to shake out. And someone like him, if you give him a taste towards the end, and he's surrounded by some people who aren't as physical, like a Zeke or a Michaela, and if he's still with Figgy that late, that's 2 votes that are tied together.
Yeah,
that I think he's in a pretty good spot. And but of course, all of that is predicated on some fictional romance I've created between the two of them. Which
that's right.
Be wrong. So
that Taylor is quite excited about. Taylor's who you're talking about, right? Yeah, Taylor.
Yeah. And this is what I do. I create narratives and then hope they're right. I mean, it happens in the DWSC. Jordan can tell you that we were watching the dynamic between Jeremiah and Amanda and Laura on the Red Tribe on Ahaso. And the way they were sitting at the Merge Tribe and what they were doing, I was just reading this whole, sort of love triangle thing into it. It was all completely wrong. I didn't know what I was talking about.
That's awesome.
But it's like you try to pick up on these cues and create something with it. So
right.
I guess we'll find out in the first episode, as always, what percentage of a jackass I am. Yeah. And I just hope I can keep it under 50.
Are you going to write this season over at True Dork Times?
I go back and forth, man. I want to, as David, I'm sure, told you, tonight I was delayed because of a shrieking dictator, who's 2 years old and doesn't
toddlers,
like bedtime.
Yes. Right.
So if I can squeeze in the time, I don't know that I'm going to be able to do 3,000 to 5,000 word treatises, but I'm going to try. I mean, both. I mean, it always seemingly pulls me back in, but part of it is, frankly, the combination of 2 things. One, I like the idea of connecting potentially with the players because it helps with the DWSC. And, that's sort of an abiding passion at this point to make that as good as it can be. And frankly, I've missed you guys. I've missed being a part of the Survivor community. And when you're not writing about it, you just feel like you're on the fringes. And so putting the
we
word.
also miss you in our Vegas group, in our little chat room with me and David and Steve and you.
I'm back in Facebook, so
it's nice to have you back. We have a little four group message thing that goes around, me and David and Steve and Andy, and we call it Vegas. What happens in that group stays in that group, because we talk about all kinds of things in there. Andy, I just want to tell you something. Listen, I hope you write. I hope you write this season, even if it's not every episode, because you are, and I'm not just saying this, you really are one of the best writers out there for Survivor. And I really hope that you'll write. And we are so honored to have you enjoy being on our show, because whenever you come on our show, people always comment about how much they enjoy it whenever you come on the show. You always bring an element that David and I are able to, are able to bounce off of and have a good time with, but that we don't always bring up whenever it's just he and I. So you just really, I hope you're right, and I love it whenever you come on the show. So
well, I deeply, deeply appreciate that, and as often as you let me crash your show here.
Well, just to add to the Andy love, since we're in that moment right now, what I get most out of his blog and that his appearances with us is that he helps me watch Survivor in a different way. I watch it different because of Andy and because of his viewpoint and the way he talks about Survivor, and I appreciate that because I think it's moved me from my One World David to season 33 David, which is a different person, and I got even more out of DWSC this year being on the production side than in the cast side. So I appreciate that, especially from the blogs. But speaking of DWSC, we did have a question from David Holdsworth in our chat room. And he said, could you please ask Andy what advice he has for a 40-something male Caucasian superfan who is going to apply and want to actually get selected from the vast pool of similar applicants?
It's a good question because, and he's already ahead of the game in that he is aware that is our biggest pool, just like Survivor itself. It's the 38 and up white male that we get a whole bunch of those applications, and so to stand out, it's no mystery. One, when you fill out the application, be thorough, be really thoughtful. Give us a lot to work with because we put a lot of stock in, is this a thinking player? Is this somebody who is going to embrace the opportunity of being out there? Because, as anyone who played it can tell you, it is a relentless 4-day game and everyone is there to play. And we are trying to put people out there who are ready to play. And the other thing is, pop on your video. You don't have to, have high production values. You don't have to have multiple shots in multiple locations, but you have to pop. And that's that indefinable thing. But to some degree, it is definable in that, like, what makes you interesting? Talk that way. Talk to the camera earnestly, and avoid like just walking around your house like, yeah, I think I could win because.
Avoid the word
Yeah, and just what we get a lot of is again, people who are otherwise interesting, they get on camera and they're just walking around and saying, I think I have a good social game, and people like me, and you're saying that, but I'm not believing it when you're talking that way. So just own it. Like, who the heck are you, and how are you going to win this thing? What's your path, and what are you going to bring to the table? And it's horribly unfair, but that's the hardest group to emerge from. So you have to be more distinctive than a 23-year-old female applicant, or when we have international applicants, which has happened in the past, like, ooh, you're really interesting just because of where you're from. So yeah, just puts energy. You don't have to put a lot of time into that video, but and I think we may be extending how much time you can do the video for. I think we're gonna say it has to be a minute, but you can go up to 2 and show us who you are.
Nice.
But all right, David, just to build on what you were saying just a second ago, I appreciate, I heard on the podcast, the DWSC one, where you were talking about how, when you're working side by side in production and you get to see what people are doing and the levels of thinking that's going into everything. And so you threw me a very kind compliment within that context, and so I thank you. But it's also my job to throw it right back where, you added to the entire experience. And the information you were getting going from camp to camp, like you were a kid in a candy store, like you could not have been more happy. But what you came back with helped us put the story together, which is a long-winded way of saying, Dwaine, you should be really jealous and you need to come back.
I know.
Hey, let me tell you, the greatest compliment
I had other obligations.
I know.
One of my favorite moments from the whole weekend And everybody says, he sure does talk about Maine a lot. Well, yeah. If you went down time, you'd have the same experience. My favorite moment, though, from the weekend, and I had a ton with a ton of different people, was I think it was on whatever day the bucket challenge was. Was that probably Friday or Saturday? Probably Friday. It was Friday. It wasn't Elimination Day. It was Friday. Yep. And just out of the blue, I'm standing over by the challenge equipment area, the picnic table, and Andy's behind me. He goes, hey, do you think we should put out another clue for the idol? And I'm like, you're asking me a production question. This is so cool. He's actually asking my opinion. Now, he's probably got the clue, and he's halfway onto the challenge pitch already, but he's still asking my opinion. I'm like, yeah, because we want them in play. Give these these smart people a chance to find these idols because we want them in play. But it was right, and that's, Dwayne, when you're talking about changing or focusing or adjusting, that was adjusting. He wanted to give them another chance to find these things and put these things in play and help somebody that might need an idol, you know. But that was one of those moments like, well, let me think about it, Mr. Baker. And it was great. It was hilarious, and I had to contain myself when he asked me that. I was like, this is cool.
Well, and some of the stuff I would have had to cop to if I was on that production podcast. I mean, part of the reason why I was putting in all of those clues is because I did a bad job in placing them. I couldn't find them. It was driving me nuts. I have some photos of all the things that I dug up. I just lined them all up. Like, this is all the stuff they didn't find.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it was, I mean, I blame the players a little bit because it couldn't have been more blatant. Like, okay, you're sitting on a log with all of the tribe colors. That didn't happen. Nature didn't put those colors there. Why do you think they're there? And you have a clue that says when you're sitting on the tribal colored stump, look down. And anyway.
I loved it. I think we moved our log and I think we burned it. So the idol's probably under the fire pit.
Yep.
All right. As much as I love DWSC talk, y'all could go on forever.
Yes, we could.
So if you've not joined our D&D Survivor Challenge, you need to get your team of 10.
Okay.
Join our Facebook group, stwdd.com/Facebook. Andy, you're already a member of our Facebook group. And submit your team to Andy Westover by, I think it's the 20th at midnight or 11:59 Central Daylight Time. So make sure you get that message to him. All right, Andy Westover. So you've heard my team, you've heard David's team, you've heard Andy's thoughts on them. So there you go.
So do we just send the message directly to Andy?
Yeah, just use Facebook Messenger.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's also a list of questions that he has. So look for the post in the Facebook group. And they're like bonus questions for like ties and stuff.
We'll bump it back up.
Okay.
It'll be near the top.
Yeah. It's time for
You write them. We read them. iTunes reviews.
We don't have any iTunes reviews this week. But if you want to hear your name on our show, there's a couple of ways to do it. Become a patron. We'll talk about that later. Or write an iTunes review. It also helps people on on iTunes find us. Since we don't have any iTunes reviews, let's play this again. Because I love this. I'm going to have you on the show just
Ladies
so I can play
and
this.
gentlemen, our special guest tonight on D&D, the one and only Survivor Genius, Andy the Bomb Baker.
Yeah, I take it that you like the new Twitter handle.
Awesome. I do. Survivor Genius. At Survivor Genius, y'all, if you want to follow Andy Baker on Twitter. Something tells me this YouTube video is going to get tagged for the song, and I'm not going to make any money on this YouTube video.
Oh, gosh.
Like, I make 20 cents a video, so it doesn't really matter. I mean, I don't know how much I make, but there's advertising on the videos. Yeah. All advertising is going to go to, whoever wrote that song. So it's going to get tagged. You have anything else to say, Andy, before I close out the show?
No, I think that's it. I appreciate you guys having me on, and this is way past my bedtime, but
yeah, I know.
It's
and we're even starting earlier now.
In hopes that our friends that go to bed early will join us more often.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we'll have to get Steve on here as well so we can have a sort of a public Vegas conversation.
Yeah. Kelly's going to join us this season also.
Nice.
Cass, I believe, is going to join us again. Aubrey, I don't remember if she said she was going to join us this season or
I think she said
I don't remember what she said.
Dr. Jill wants to come back on too for Survivor.
Yeah, Dr. Jill wants to come back on, and so many people.
Yeah, I'm guessing Aubrey.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no. I'll keep my theories to myself, but would love to talk to Miss Aubrey.
We'll do a little spoiler talk for season 34 in just a minute.
All right. Like. Sounds good.
Join the fun by being a part of our always family-friendly Facebook group at stwdd.com/Facebook. Follow me on Twitter at Survivor_talk. You can follow David at STWDD You can follow Andy at Survivor Genius. Thank you for shopping Amazon and using the links on our website. Each time you do, you support the show, and it doesn't cost you a penny more. And yes, I am an Amazon affiliate. If you like our show and want to contribute a small amount monthly, you can become a D&D patron. Not only do you make a huge difference in our podcast budget each month, but $2 a month and more have access to our D&D extra video each week, which I believe will start. Well, we won't do one for the premiere. Yeah, we will. We're going to do one for the premiere. David, we're going to do one.
Okay.
Next week, we're going to do one. So the first D&D extra video will come out Monday or Tuesday before the season launch. We now have an always open D&D store, and it's not to make money because we make like 20 cents a shirt. So don't complain. They have shirts, hoodies, mugs, etc. Each item ships weekly. So head on over and get some stuff. stwdd.com/store. I just put up a brand new design because my wife said all our designs look the same. So I put one that has a little pocket logo and then our tag on the back. I kind of like it, actually. I'm going to order me one. Thank you for tuning in, sharing our show with others, subscribing on iTunes, Stitcher, and YouTube, and being a part of the D&D family. So, let's see. Hold on. Oh, I'm going to end the show, and then we're going to talk survive. Trust me on this. Just trust me. Okay? See you, everybody.
See ya.
For those of you hanging around still, YouTube to subscribe, become a patron, or visit our website. Also, here are 2 most recent videos, cast predictions with Steve Helling, and who the heck are these people? Thanks for watching. We are now going to talk season 34 spoilers. So, spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Season 34 and spoilers.
Only spoilers in the fact of who's playing. We don't know anything else.
No, just like who's playing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Aubrey's playing.
Yeah.
Zeke is playing. Who else do we know is playing? Sierra's playing.
Varner's back out there.
Varner's out there as well.
There's the TWS
it was funny.
Out there.
Varner and I were talking before he went out, and I was letting him know that I knew he was going, and so he had some fun talking about going. He wanted to know who else had talked to me. So, who else is going out there?
Troy Zan.
Troy Zan, that's right. Who is fun as anything.
I totally want, I was talking about this with John. I was hoping that, the best thing that could happen for the DWSC is for Troy Zan to do well and come back saying, yeah, I kept fresh and I kept on top of my game playing in this game up in Maine. That got me ready to be out there.
Yeah.
Because that's the way he was talking about it when he was playing in the challenges. He was like, yeah, this will keep me sharp.
And they might let him if he refers to Bob Crowley, because it's related to Bob and he's a Survivor alum.
Yeah.
So, were you going to tell anybody else who's playing?
So I did not know about Zeke. That's interesting.
Oh.
No, it's fine. I'm literally 2 days into my research on this season. I'm sure I would have bumped into it eventually.
Apparently, 2 players from this season are on season 34. I know Zeke, but I don't know.
That I knew, but I didn't.
But I don't know who the other one is.
Got it.
Do you, David?
No, I've heard that's on the pages, but I haven't gone to the pages because I don't want to be spoiled by anything else.
Yeah.
I did hear a male and a female from this season, and somebody told me Zeke. I didn't hear who the other one was.
Yeah. But
yeah,
another reason to write about this season is to shake off the rust so that I can be ready to write for the returnee season, because those are the people that we would. What?
I forgot. We were talking about how awesome of a writer you are, and then I made a mental note to myself to bring up Brian Mars, and then also Alex writes for us, and I forgot to mention them. So I'm doing it now, but it's in the spoiler section. So, gummit.
They'll forgive
Brian.
you. I'm sure you're gonna mention it in the first episode.
I know. Brian is such a good addition to the. Brian does a really good job of writing for us. Alex isn't going to write as much this season.
No.
Yeah,
no. I like Brian a lot. You know, he's a friend.
Except for when he comes out on the field of play per se, when he's not supposed to be there.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I can totally understand not being able to resist the temptation.
One of the times I saw Andy very upset, David. Probably not as upset as whenever a certain alumnus
that's about
told a tribe, huh? We're not saying what.
Okay.
Yeah, it still makes my blood boil, but but you take the step back and it's like, you know what? You know, the game played out beautifully. You had no impact, and you proved to us what a jackass you are. So
yeah,
good
Survivor spoiler section. So
yeah, sorry. Good riddance. Good riddance.
All right. Well, it wasn't that much of a spoiler section, but it was a little bit. So, Andy, really enjoyed having you on.
Oh yeah, no, this is great fun. Great fun. Yeah. I don't know why I deny it to myself for long stretches.
Stop denying the world.
Yeah, I mean,
it's selfish.
It's not even Lent. I mean, don't give up something you love. It's not even Lent. Save it for Lent.
Sounds good.
I don't even give up anything for Lent. So,
well, my wife one year talked me into not eating meat, and by about day 35, I was having fever dreams of eating raw animals. And so it's like, that's not going to work again.
Yeah, my oldest did that for Lent one time, and now she's a vegetarian. So she will never get me to join her in that part if she does that again.
Given all the photos that I've seen of the food that you eat at those gatherings, I mean, you couldn't stop eating meat. The good Lord.
It's only once a week, and that is my bad day.
Oh, my gosh, David.
That is my bad day.
So good.
Oh, I was going to say, I eat 5,000 calories in one sitting, and I'm not muscular. What's up? Why does Jay get to eat 5,000 calories in a day and get muscular?
Well, he spends all day when he's not eating in the gym. I understand you're in the gym again.
I am.
In training.
I am enjoying. In fact, I worked out, did some weight training for about an hour before we got on the show. I had to go home and take a shower. Had to come home and take a shower.
It's good. Yeah. You getting ready for something this summer?
Whoa, we better get off the air before we talk about that. It's good to see everybody. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.